afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Series with me, Britz. Proudly powered by leadershipbydesign.co, where we aim to add value to people's lives, and you can listen to us live every Wednesday and Thursday at lunchtime on ebizradio.com and all our major podcast channels today. If you are seeing this or listening to this, I want to challenge you to add value to someone's lives today. We certainly can do with some people adding value to each other's lives and be kinder to one another. And with that in mind, in today's marketing leadership segment, we've got the marketing and communications expert and co-host, as per usual, Craigpagelee. How are you doing, Craig?
Kevin, I'm great. Thank you. Yeah, good to be chatting today, especially after the excitement of an incredible epic win by the Springboks. Tough game by all accounts, but yeah, we'll take the good win nevertheless.
So, Craig, I just want to point out that last week I did say I believe that we would win. So,
yes, and I was hesitant, not thinking that we would do it, but damn right, that was great.
Craig, I must say, I'm not a rugby specialist, but I've played rugby and I've watched this this World Cup quite regularly on a lot of different games, and I must say, out the what do you call it? Out the box, out the guns, at the first moment of the start of the game on Saturday, the Boks were in attack and they were kicking ass gloriously. They came out there as if they were aiming to win this. I think in the second round, in the second half, they did, there was a lot of flustering going out. But in the first half of this game, we came out playing like champions. And I think, if you listen to some of Sia Kolisi's commentary, and I'm sure you have, of, people who are not from this country don't understand what this means for this country. If you're not from here, you won't understand. And
you know what? Yes.
One, I think it just speaks to there's a deeper intention and there's a deeper level and layer for this country to win the World Cup than there is for any other country.
So it's interesting because one of the statements in the press was New Zealand wanted the win, South Africa needed the win. So very much to that particular point. And again, we just know what a unifier sport, successful sport is in this country. So yeah, just fantastic to see it. And just nail biting. I was with a bunch of Kiwis, Australians and English folk. So nice mixed bag of spectators watching with us at a venue, 360 people. So it was absolutely chaos, but phenomenal.
I must point out something that someone that was quite hilarious pointed out to me was it did skip a president. So we've had Nelson Mandela, we've had Thabo Mbeki, we've had what's the other one? There's
obviously Jacob.
Jacob was skipped,
yes,
but we've had Cyril Ramaphosa, and so I mean, like, he was the only president that skipped the World Cup because so I was like, that's an interesting connection that people have made with the World Cup, but the rest of the time, there, so which is really phenomenal. But I thought it was phenomenal. I enjoyed it. Of course, driving in the streets was mayhem. If you did drive in the streets at 2:00 in the morning, it was just like people were dancing. Crowds of people were like just walking around like 2:00 in the morning dancing and hooters and music and it was crazy. But it was just phenomenal to be part of it. I enjoyed it. I think it was brilliant.
Absolutely, Kevin. Yeah. Let's look forward to see that they're going to be doing their little roadshow in the major cities starting from, I think it's Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think everyone's going to show up. I think it's going to be something to observe. I'll be there if I can, because it's brilliant. I just love that they and it speaks to, someone mentioned it in the commentary box. If you see how much love this team have for each other, that the differences that we have experienced in the past, and we still sometimes today have differences that we experience. this team is such a representation of what unity and diversification looks like.
Yes,
And
yes,
it
yes, yes.
speaks to such strength and leadership. And I think Sir Siaklis is probably one of the best leaders
Oh,
this country has ever seen.
it's just, the man is phenomenal, just beyond belief, really.
The story, the man, the story from where he comes from, the life that he's learned, the humble beginnings, not having a home, not having shoes, not having food, like to winning the World Cup, like, that's
just phenomenal.
Talking about the American dream. Never mind the American dream. Let's talk about the South African dream for a change.
Yeah.
What does it mean, and what can it mean if you're a South African? That's what it can mean.
Just hope that the unity, that unity just stays positive and intact and moves into other facets of our lives.
Absolutely. But I mean, okay, enough with the rugby. It's not a rugby show. To kick off today's show, what are some of the reminders from last week's conversation, Craig?
Yeah, Kevin, thanks. So we continued the conversation on sustainability, picking up post Stephen's input on the F list, and we looked at various articles on the topic. And the first article we covered was from McKinsey.com, titled "What is Net Zero?" And the article focused on what it's going to take to achieve it, if we can achieve it at all. We then covered an article from sustainablebrands.com titled "Brands Putting Rubber to Road to Create a Regenerative Near Future." And then we concluded with a report from sustainablebrands.com, this titled "Sustainable Brands Guidebook to Accelerating Sustainable Business Transformation." And I want to cover the closing chapters of the report, titled 5 Actionable Steps to Support Sustainable Business Transformation, for our key reminder points. And these points are noted as follows, or at least the steps are noted as follows, Kevin. So step 1 is establish that baseline. Conduct a thorough assessment of the brand's current sustainability practices, identifying areas of strength and areas that require improvement. This evaluation serves as the baseline for developing a sustainable transformation strategy. Step 2 is measure what matters. Establish the measurable, time-bound sustainability goals and track progress using key performance indicators to monitor and evaluate progress on the brand's societal, environmental, and economic impact. Step 3 is incentivize innovation. Foster a culture of innovation by incentivizing employees, partners, and stakeholders to contribute to these new ideas and solutions that result in a continuous product improvement and services that deliver a positive impact. Step 4 is ensure alignment. It's about embedding sustainability into the brand's identity and strategy, and by aligning the organization's mission, goals, communications, and training with its guiding principles on sustainability. And the final step, step 5, is communicate and educate. And communicate the brand's sustainability initiatives and progress to all stakeholders, raising awareness and educating both internal and external audiences about the brand's commitment to positive change. And those are the key reminder points from last week, Kevin.
Fantastic, Craig. Thank you so much. Guys, if you want to check that out, go and check it out on the YouTube channel under the Lunchtime series, or on any major podcast channels today. So, Craig, what are we up for today's discussion?
Yeah, Kevin, really interesting 2 white papers that I came across, sort of building on the sustainability proposition. And they stood out for me because it's very much looking at sustainability in the banking sector. So the white paper, the first white paper, is titled "Top 5 Trends in Sustainable Banking in 2023. The white paper was published by Ecolytic at the end of 2022, and it provides an overview of sustainable banking in practice, which really, Kevin, is actually a real area of sustainable business focus. To set some context on who Ecolytic are and what the white paper consists of, we note the following from the paper. Sustainability as a service solution from Ecolytic enables banks, fintech companies, and financial service providers to show their customers the individual impact of their purchasing behavior and how it is having an impact on the environment in real time. The Ecolytic software calculates personal environmental impacts such as CO2 values on the basis of all your payment transactions. It also provides a climate education library of content and valuable background information on environmental impact. To this end, Ecolytic not only provides the appropriate content, but also offers suitable impact compensation offers from selected and certified organizations, all seamlessly integrated into the bank's digital interface and app structures, Kevin.
So, I mean, Craig, with the trends covered in the white paper, what are these trends that you've uncovered?
Okay, so Kevin, yeah, the 5 trends that are covered in this particular white paper are listed as follows. The first trend is carbon footprinting and embedded finance. The second trend is increasing customer lifetime value through a next level customer experience. The third trend is encouraging sustainable behavior change that lasts. The fourth trend is hyper-personalization of sustainability. And the fifth trend is making claims that matter. And you can see all of these allude to this, moving away from the greenwashing and negativity that we covered in the previous show. But let's take a look at each of these in a bit more detail. So starting with trend 1, carbon footprinting and embedded finance. What the white paper notes, Kevin, is that the times of traditional banking are over, as consumers are seriously looking for sustainability in all aspects of their lives, and naturally that includes the likes of their bank accounts. The white paper also notes that some studies have shown that about 70% of millennials and Gen Zers would be interested in using carbon footprint tracker if their banks actually offered that particular proposition. Traditional banks are increasingly partnering then with these tech-savvy fintechs to develop some of these solutions and providing those embedded finance features to their customers, with this trend set to continue way into the end of this year into next year. An important point to note, though, is that innovation and sustainable banking goes way beyond business as usual practices. And from this, we learned that some of the first movers in sustainable banking are already seeing their benefits, at least seeing benefits of their efforts in innovation being rolled out, with the likes of portfolio of green banking products being on the verge of possibly one of the biggest banking evolutions to date, Kevin. Another report, this one published by Retail Banker International, also notes that over half of the financial services providers plan to launch a green finance product by the end of 2023, making this the most successful year to date in this space. However, to remain competitive, financial institutions must use 2023 as the time to make this move, or else they're absolutely going to get left behind.
Craig, so I think this because I mean, when you just carbon footprinting embedded in finance, like immediately my brain's going like, what TW, why the face? But essentially, this is where AI is essential, right? This is where AI, and this is, I think, the parts where people are missing the AI benefits of what AI can do, is because with this, we can plug in a whole bunch of information and kind of extract from AI, how do we do this better? And how can we maybe measure that carbon footprint, right? And I think that's where we can leverage from it. And that's also, on the wings concept where we speak about, creativity and critical thinking, like it's in areas like this where you start going, well, as an evolution of humans, as an evolution of people, how do we then start leveraging the information from an AI and from critically thinking on how do we combine this to actually get this done better? And that's where we can come up with so much solutions so much faster. I think that's what people are missing around the AI element to conversations like this.
Absolutely. I think it might be trend 3 that picks up on a bit of this behavioral aspect now. And I'll review that when we get there. Otherwise, I'll add a comment at that particular point. But yes, 100%. Trend 2 is increasing customer lifetime value through a next level customer experience. So the white paper notes that in this battle for customer attention, banks are losing the engagement game, Kevin. It means that the less time customers are spending in digital banking apps, the fewer touch points banks actually have with their customers. So what customers need from their banking experience is sustainable and engaging features that offer an experience in line with their own personal shifting and evolving values. And this is exactly what customer-facing sustainable banking solutions can provide. The new generation of features in these green banking products can increase customer lifetime value and in essence reduce churn towards newer digital channels in the industry, whether it's a green bank account or embedded some of the sustainability features such as transaction-based environmental footprinting or our ESG, environmental, social and governance investment platforms. These kinds of customer experience are definitely set to grow through 2023 into 2024, Kevin.
Craig, what's interesting is that this, it seems like it's an ever-evolving customer experience that's not going away. Like,
yes,
we've had customer experience conversations probably 20 times already, the importance of customer experience, and it's simply not going away. Yep. Customers are still instrumental on driving the value of brand and the lifetime of the value of brand based on the fact that how can you better the experience. So like, I think it's just it needs to be a no-brainer already by this point. Like you have to have customer experience levels right up there, else people will go away. Plain and simple.
Absolutely, and this is where it moves into trend 3, which is encouraging sustainable behavior change that lasts. Yeah. Okay, and banks are recognizing the role they play in this fight against climate change, Kevin. And this has been validated by a study that notes that 55% of US banks reported they're taking steps to embed sustainable behaviors into their businesses. And, last year, it was 85% of banks. So, that was the intention then. Some of those are already embedded in their systems. So, moving into 2023, another 55% are committed to ensuring there's some kind of embed of sustainability in their banking behavior. And what's more is that banks are realizing that they can provide consumers with these transparent impact calculations and sustainability insights that actually empower them to change their consumption habits and live more sustainability, and this addressing the way, the changing way that consumers are banking. So to this point, I think one of the exciting aspects here is, for instance, all of your financial transaction behavior is analyzed, and firstly, you're able to assess how many transactions are being made, whether through payment gateways at stores or restaurants or whatever it is, and how much time is spent online. That in itself has an environmental impact. So it's giving you information as to what your CO2 output is relative to that. But then also based on the deep insights, the likes of the AI that you talk around, you can actually start looking at the various restaurants or your shopping slip from the grocers. What food are you buying? Are you buying a lot of meat? What is the meat? Is it environmentally impact farming? Is it positive sustainable farming? Is it more fish? Is it more vegetarian aspects? And then helping you get a balance in how to choose your lifestyle propositions to ensure that your behaviors outside of banking are also working to improve less impact on climate change. So really clever.
But that's one of the things that Discovery Health does well, right? Showing you how to live a better life, yes, and how to keep health. So we could use the same kind of technology and the same kind of artificial intelligence to enhance the way we buy, the way we shop, the way we actually impact our climate.
Absolutely, Kevin. Absolutely, and it's great to see that the likes of Discovery Health purely understands that, and the fact that they've integrated this very well into the banking products that sit within the group as well. The white paper also notes that banks aren't just simple bystanders in the climate crisis in 2023, Kevin. They're actually active participants in climate action. So they really do need to evolve and innovate more quickly and more effectively in this space. And they know wallets, consumer wallets, to be a powerful tool in the fight against climate change. And by integrating the environmental transparency into the banking experience, customers begin to actually align their financial expenditure with the carbon budgets and offsets that they can set for themselves. And in this way, the integrated and tailored insights actually start contextualizing climate change for consumers, making it accessible and easy and inspiring action for their customers, Kevin. Online banking apps and financial service providers will, just like a fitness tracker, repeatedly encourage customers to actually improve their climate fitness by generating more engagement and increasing customer loyalty. And obviously a lot of that driven on the back of great content.
Right, but also sorry, I just want to say, like, that is such a brilliant idea, because if they did that, they would be tackling, especially that whole Gen Z kind of well, I don't even know who the new Gen Zs are, and the whole, like, part of
Gen
that,
Z and TR for years.
it would really get that whole sort of segment of the population to really buy into it, because they specifically want to improve climate. They specifically want to help. So there, those jobs that we spoke about a year and a half ago that people didn't know that didn't exist yet. Here we
That's
go.
right.
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
specific.
And very much Gen Z as the predominant drivers of this thinking and behavior change and expectation of brands to step forward and put their hand on their heart and show that they're making a difference.
Yeah, it's
I,
amazing. I love that.
And I closed the last point on the likes of content because it's around generating more engagement, more increasing customer loyalty, but very much that's all driven and delivered through enriched and relevant content, which is a perfect segue to trend 4, which is hyper personalizing sustainability. Sustainable banks go beyond empowering consumers with knowledge and transparency on their carbon footprint. It actually, they set the foundation for climate engagement with these consumers. And what we need is an individualized approach to this customer experience, one that inspires more of the climate action. This enables this hyper-personalization sustainability to gain more traction as we exit 2023. And then rather than just simply focusing on empowering consumers with sustainable knowledge, banks should actually equip their customers with relevant tools to act at the right time and in real time. And therefore, banks need to become more approachable to personalized banking experiences that can be tailored to fit these customer preferences. And finally, on this trend, Kevin, personal finance data really needs to be paired, firstly, with climate insights that engage, secondly, with educational content that inspires, and thirdly, with some fun facts that actually help retain. And the benefits are that when banks respond to this growing demand for better customer-facing experiences, customers will adapt to their lifestyles for better lifestyles. And in essence, personalization sustainability promotes effective climate change and action.
Craig, I mean, please make note of this, that we need to do a show on hyper personalization sustainability, and or just hyper personalization for clients, because this is a trend that has come up more than once on
Yes.
really solidifying who your client is. How do you tap into that client and really personalize it to tailor make what your offering gives that client? And as a brand, it's hard. it's not
It
an
is.
easy thing to do. So to figure out how to do that, I mean, there must be ways to do that effectively, and to figure out how to do it effectively. But yet,
Big brands have got entire departments that work in this particular space, really getting to understand using data, going from mass data to understanding the intricacies of the person of one and what that person's needs and wants are at a particular point in time as well.
Yeah.
Moving to trend 5, then this really picked up on why I was looking at this article. It's about the greenwashing nonsenses. Make claims that matter. And the nature of consumption is shifting, and so are consumers' expectations towards brands and business, Kevin. And as the demand for genuine and transparent corporate sustainability management rises, so does the risk of falling into this greenwashing trap with severe detrimental effects for businesses, and something that we actually spoke about at length last week and the week before with Stephen on the show. According to research, 48% of consumers would buy as little as possible from a business that greenwashed, and 40% wouldn't recommend that business to friends or family at all. And again, I reference our previous conversation, why would brands not be working to ensure the transparency in the messaging and evidence in their behaviors, Kevin? Regulation to figure out these misleading claims is also on the rise and expected to continue well into 2024 as both legal and reputational risk are now at stake as financial service providers navigate this sort of fine line between announcements and real action, or in some instances, actually no action, Kevin. 2023 is supposed to be the year for radical transparency, not just at the management level, but through deeply integrated layers within the company's philosophy to avoid these misleading claims. Again, talking to the why, when you get to understand the why, you'll definitely be able to shape your conversation in a real meaningful way and not misleading. Embracing a new brand of transparency helps legitimize sustainability transformation within the banking sector. Excuse me, and a great closing statement on these trends actually notes that a genuine sustainability strategy that is mainstreamed into the core of its philosophy is the best medicine to sidestepping potential risks. And I really do like that statement.
Craig, so, I mean, how are banks really driving the green agenda as every card swipe and the online transaction is impacting on the environment?
Yeah, Kevin, as I mentioned, payment gateways, online banking uses energy and technology to drive it. So inevitably, all of that is creating CO2 output. But I want to reference the other Evolytic white paper that I mentioned to address this particular question, Kevin. This particular white paper is titled Carbon Footprinting and Beyond, How Transparency Drives Sustainable Banking, and addresses how banks are actually enriching financial data with sustainability metrics in real time, therefore being able to inform customers of their banking behavior and actually what impact it's really having on the planet. And I'll share what the white paper notes in this regard. The paragraph titled Enriching Financial Data with Sustainable Metrics, Banks as Agents for Change, notes the following. To this day, banks manage a great part of people's lives and therefore handle a vast amount of data points from their customers. For example, income, spending habits on utilities, transport, and much more. Based on this knowledge, banks now have the opportunity to engage with their customers for an even more important cause, the fight against climate change. This makes it crucial for banks to shift towards a sustainable reinterpretation of money management to address the growing consumer demand. The first level of transparency is achieved through contextualizing personal spending through carbon footprinting. So, that last paragraph, again, incredibly important statement.
Craig, but sorry, just an interjection here. Isn't this really part and parcel of a very obvious way to start curbing and actioning climate change?
Yes, very much so.
Because I don't think people are even aware that, I mean, to the point that, banks are crucial to just about everyone living in the country. In whatever country you're in, the bank specifically has some kind of attachment to you. And, if the banks do more, and maybe the pressure should be on banks to do more, we would have more actionable steps to take towards climate change.
It's definitely. And the next point it really talks to that, Kevin, because in another survey, this one conducted by Eurogroup, here they found that 67% of consumers across all age groups are actually demanding engagement and sustainability from their banks. So the clarion call is there to have banks now evolve and innovate in this space. And it makes it crucial for banks to shift towards the sustainable reinterpretation. And I really like this phrase, sustainable reinterpretation of money management to address the growing consumer demand. And according to a study by a US study, and really great studies are referenced in these two white papers, this one by Cornerstone Advisors, the customers of the future are looking for carbon footprinting features from their banks, with about 70% of Gen Zers and millennials expressing interest in using carbon footprint tracker provided by their bank. And the demand for transparent banking is high. That said, many customers don't actually really know where to start, Kevin, because only 7% of people are tracking their carbon footprints in one way or the other. Obviously, lack of knowledge, lack of understanding tools as barriers to this entry. So this is where the real opportunity lies for financial institutions by building the sustainable business case for their long-established products and services.
And I'm just back to that point where it just makes so much sense now that, like, you brought it to our attention to that degree. I think, banks, and maybe it's a case of really maybe we should get F&B on the show and say, hey guys, what are you doing about this?
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. It's definitely a conversation to be had with some of with representatives of the various banks, because these apps are highly effective. Day-to-day food purchase behavior, consumption behavior, transacting behavior, all of those, looking at your trends over the period of time, looking at what your diet is normally made up of, et cetera, how often you're eating fresh food versus frozen food. All of those factors really play into building a healthy lifestyle, financial management, and therefore positive impact on the planet, or less negative impact on the planet at the end of the day.
I mean, just on that point, I've gotten a message, an actual an SMS from eBucks saying, because I didn't use my card at an engine to get eBucks from my engine connection, that it sent me and said, do you know how much eBucks you've just lost? So it had such like a weird state. I was like, are you moaning at me? Like, my bank was moaning at me that I've lost out on eBucks. But it did make me very aware of the fact that I'm losing out on driven behavior that can actually support me financially. So I'm like,
very much so. The power of loyalty programs, Kevin.
Yeah. So I mean, Craig, as we end today's show, what are the key takeaways for the listeners? Banks, you need to do more. That's the key takeaway.
Absolutely. So I want to reference the same Ecolytic paper titled Carbon Footprinting and Beyond, How Transparency Drives Sustainable Banking, for our takeaway points today. And there's a great chart that actually compares traditional bank accounts with growth in this popularity around green bank accounts. And the chart also references a comparison between the existing traditional banking features versus these enriched features of green banking, Kevin. And before we look at the comparison, I want to quote the opening paragraph to this section, because it states this: the integration of climate-related financial data into existing banking products allows financial institutions to first rethink and then redesign their traditional service offerings to provide the sustainability-driven clientele with the right products. So let's have a look at these comparisons. So from existing features to enriched features, looking at traditional bank accounts on the one hand, existing features of the likes of standard check and savings accounts, banks and credit card statements, and personal finance management. Moving to the enriched feature side of green bank accounts, it's about carbon neutral accounts with offsetting integrated, reserved solely for green investments, transactions enriched with climate impact data that empower customers, and personal carbon manager tracking environmental performance monthly and annually, Kevin. Going back to traditional credit card loyalty programs, you talk about eBucks, fall into this space, carbon intensive shopping behaviors, participation in loyalty programs, and common reward and loyalty points as being part of the existing features. Moving into that enriched feature space of climate credit card with green loyalty programs, the features of the likes of development of conscious consumption habits, launch next level green loyalty programs, and incentivize sustainability engagement with impact offsetting. Then moving to the key around ESG investment plans on the existing features of traditional banks, we just see it's insufficient ESG investment consulting, lack of transparent ESG data, and one-size-fits-all ESG approaches. But when moving to the sort of the enhanced features of the green thinking, it's about integrated ESG investment plans. The features there are about integrated access to impact investing platforms and offset projects, centralized and easy to access ESG packages, and potential for personalized ESG recommendations, Kevin. And those are the key takeaways for today.
Craig, I'm so impressed with this. I'm literally when we load this, I'm going to tweet this directly to FNB, ABSA, Standard Bank, Nedbank, and Capitec, and say, hey guys, here's a video you guys should pay attention to.
Join us in the conversation. Yeah. Let's do a little direct mailer to the marketing heads of those respective organizations and try and get them on a show and talk about what initiatives are being done in South Africa around this space.
Well, I think what's interesting about this conversation is that it will educate people. And for me, if I knew that something like this existed, I would immediately and only shop or buy the types of stuff for like household goods or spend my money knowing that it's going to some kind of initiative that's helping climate change. Like immediately to me, that's like it's easy to do. You just have to shop here. You just have to buy there. You just have to earn these points, do that. And you're already, adding to helping some kind of initiative behind climate change. And then, what that then does, if you have 10 million people in the country doing that, how much impact it will have just for a country itself.
Kevin, as you talk, it makes me think of the sustainability ecosystem and the role that brands, particularly in a CPG, consumer price goods environment, that the importance for brands to understand the value chain of each of the products and packaging that's produced, that sits on the shelves in their organizations and retailers as well. So it's not just around the banking from a transacting point of view, it's and what you're actually purchasing in your basket makeup, but really what is the environmental impact status and statement around the actual products that you're putting in the basket as well. So it's a deep long tail of ecosystem awareness around this particular proposition.
But also it could be when people see the impact that it does have, and if people have a measurable impact that they can show for this, it could be the differentiating factor for a brand. It could literally differentiate you from every other brand. If Pick n Pay decided tomorrow, guys, this is an initiative that we've taken and this differentiates us from every other food market out there, that you could actually, or food brand out there, that if you buy these products, this is how we're helping change climate or impact the climate.
Immediately impact,
it puts them 10 years ahead of any other brand. And I think it's that kind of thinking that people really need to start critically thinking around. How do we absolutely impact why we're doing what we're doing? And I think it ties back into that like really speaking to the experiential customer experience, because then you're really tailor making it to the point where not only are you buying for the sake of supporting that brand, but because you're supporting this brand, we're supporting the planet. Like it becomes a massive impact, a massive conversation.
Big responsibility on the product manufacturers and on the retailers that are housing that product on its shelf, and then obviously the banks being able to aggregate the rich data that comes on the back of these financial transactions and using that to drive more positive, pertinent, relevant behavior.
Amazing. So I mean, I'm sticking with our wonderful Captain Khaleesi here.
And great factor.
I'm famously going to be quoting him because I think it's so apt, and I think it just adds to the impact that people can have. And if we start doing this and work together, and as united as he is, he says, give your best, practice hard, and take pride in your fitness, but never give in during a match, as it spoils the game for your opponents and your teammates. Keep a sense of proportion. Remember, it's only a game, it's not war.
Sure. That's great.
And that's Steve Khaleesi, captain of the world champion rugby team.
Captain, no captain.
That was a fantastic conversation, and I think we should send out some mails and see who we can get hold of.
Notes, yeah, definitely.
This would be a really, really interesting conversation to initiate And I think Stephen would be very proud of us.
Absolutely. Nice reference there.
Have a great week, and I will chat to you soon.
Thank you, Kevin. You too. Cheers. Bye.